Thank you very much, Hugh. So I'm actually going to read a little bit, not too much, because it's hard to listen to someone reading, unless you're in bed, and that's a wholly different thing. Footprints are made in a critical conjuncture of pressure and impact, movement and propulsion against the composition and properties of the substrate. In the striding human foot, the heel hits the ground first, usually leaving the first deep impression. As the body shifts its weight forward, the lateral sides of the feet make their mark until momentum is surrendered to the balls of the feet, the metatarsal heads. The toes then exert their pressure, and the final lift-off is achieved as the big toe pushes against the ground. If the surface is soft, yet still tensile, and the atmosphere relatively calm, the walker leaves a trace. Many stories are contained in these traces, born of casual confidence, force, curiosity, desire, hesitancy, strain. The human stride, whose account is so often subservient to the hand, has made its own mark on our history. The fruits of our handiwork quite justly enjoy the focus of considerable attention. On the other hand, the products of our footfall are much harder to grasp, most discernible perhaps in the vast range of our migrations. But while the trace of our hands, the fingerprint, has been appropriated by the disciplinary apparatuses of the state, the footprint has been resolutely ambiguous, interpreted equally in terms of its impact as its sense of initiative, simultaneously enigmatic and evocative, signifying both presence and absence, forceful yet transient. The footprint reveals an itinerant evidentiary history. Consider the following footprints. Those drawn by indigenous artists in maps of New Spain created for the Spanish crown. The footprint impressed on the moon as one small step for man in 1969, and today's carbon footprint. The prints on the Spanish maps make visible within imperial cartography the lifeways that were being violently obliterated under colonial rule. The thrilling moonwalks of Apollo 11 came with the freight of Cold War geopolitics, US imperial ambitions, and the disregard of racial, social, and economic inequities at home. And for all that the carbon footprint intends to hold to account the totality of anthropogenic action, it encodes and obscures the asymmetries between the global north and south with their historically different carbon emissions. Each footprint spotlights an instance of human politics and questions of social justice embedded in the histories and practices of colonialism, US imperialism, capitalism, and racial, economic, and environmental disparities. While that clarity is bracing, it is illusory. The footprint so constructed is an object, a fixed event or moment in time. But this assumed legibility comes at the cost of masking the footprint's mobility. Not only is it formed in motion, it carries with it other trajectories, ideas, people, and histories. Every footstep tempts those who follow to pour interpretation into its print and to cement meaning. This predilection to see the footprint as the stable impact of a foot's tread, an artifact that claims space rather than as a brush with movement, has significant implications. Customary usages in ecopolitics, as much as in architecture, produce the footprint as a static and substantial form. Footprints struggle to leave a visible trace on city streets where their authority has been seized by buildings. Feet are evacuated from terrain they once trekked and surveyed into the distant lines and coordinates of maps. Although derived from bodies, feet begin to discipline us as external standards of measurement. The footprint's corporeal basis makes it both familiar and easy for anyone to visualize, and therefore, not unexpectedly, it pops up everywhere, thoroughly mundane, a sentimental cliche, a lazy metaphor. But its ubiquity also means that it remains unexamined, whether evoked in the metaphors of carbon and building footprints, or whether as a physical trace too frequently absorbed into pre-existing evidentiary and museological paradigms. The result is that we no longer see the footprint as such, let alone sense that it was born in the process of imprinting. This book unsettles the fixity of the footprint to take it for a walk. In doing so, it demonstrates that while the footprint is a recurrent and persistent image that signifies presence, whether of human or divine, of otherness, of prey, the ways in which its meanings are woven into being and how they unravel and migrate vary. Exploring the multivalent and ambiguous ways in which the footprint has surfaced, it probes what we can learn from the ways in which it has been deployed, perhaps fostering another relationship with the world. Are there other lineages of the footprint, humbler and formed in relation, to follow in whose footsteps would promise different horizons? The footprints within this book take many forms: sly, bold, heavy, faint, light, obscured, humble, confused, uncertain, persistent, and they appear across a rich landscape from maps to monuments, to mythology, to the moon. The book offers 4 itineraries, each of which twines the heterogeneous and enigmatic ways in which the foot moves and the footprint surfaces. Feet and their prints are no more separated from one another than our bodies and their imaginations. And just as the ground onto which feet step remain inextricable from the prints that form on it. Even as the journeys range from colonial cartography to the standardization of measurement, from religious iconography to artistic practice, from literature to the policing of borders, from the politics of memory to prosthetics, the itineraries are not about the footprints found therein. Rather, they travel with footprints to bring into view the intersections, collisions, and contradictions of this very material metaphor. You can start at the first itinerary and follow the journeys to the end, but you can also dip in and out, winding image and idea together to create your own paths and series of footprints. The itineraries are inevitably partial. They meander, loop, and follow each other's trails, resisting a too quick assessment of where we are going. In that sense, this is a travel book that invites you to travel with, wander off, or to invite other footprints in to share the path of inquiry. After all, many traditions have understood the footprint as something held in common, rather than an intrepid individual claim to the open road or a solo discovery. Shared footprints sketch paths that resist being inked in, insisting that we continually draft them, along with and in the steps of others, in a continual process of drawing and redrawing them together. Thank you very much for coming. I've taken steps with many of you, and I'm really delighted that you are here to be alongside. Footsteps are taken alongside, and footsteps are taken in the rhythm and along the rhythm with other people. So I'm delighted that you're here. Please have a drink. Please do not pay for the drinks. And just have a good time. Thank you very, very much for coming.